It's 2 days away from kicking off the 2025 NFL Draft, and you know what that means? It's smoke screen season in full effect. You need some gas masks. You need to wave some of this smoke out of the air. We're going to try to do that today. Fact or fiction about the Cardinals draft, Johnny Venerable?
Plus, Mike Garafolo joins us to talk all things medical. What's happening? Will Johnson, Derrick Harmon. What's going on with these guys? Plus, the latest with Mike Green, James Pearce Jr., a loaded show, 48 hours out. PHNX Cardinals starts now. Hey, welcome in. Welcome, Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is Brack. I think we scared producer Noah behind the scenes here. Damon Dog, much deserved R&R. So Noah's going to be rocking with your boys here through the rest of the duration of draft season. Speaking of the draft, man, oh man, what a show we have planned for you. Big thanks to everybody in the chat. Big thanks to the presenting sponsor today, our friends at Circle K. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details.
I love to see this on a Tuesday right before the NFL draft, that those are just filing in, loading up here in the chat. Want to talk about this team. I see you, Jules. I see you. How about Mike Meyer, Trenton? We got Brock. I like that. Alec, Darren, Jess is back. A-Bot, Schaff always here. Fuddle, ZT. It's tough to beat Brock, though. What a name. I got somebody ready to
beat Brock. Cut our guy Trenton Smith just became a diehard today. Let's go, Trenton. What's good, my guy? $36 for the entirety of the year. $3 a month. Can't beat it. Trenton, we appreciate you, my guy.
Yeah. We got Scat in the back here. Look at Cam Skattebo is looming. We've got a little draft nugget about Cam Skattebo from our guy, Mike Garafolo. Full disclosure, recorded that interview. Johnny did. It's JV and Mike G just going back and forth, talking some ball. And man, does he unload some very useful information about 48 hours from the draft day. First round, Tennessee Titans on the clock and all that comes with that.
It was sad. You couldn't join us for technical reasons. It was not Dirty Mike and the boys. It was Mike and JV hanging out like only we can. Mike Garafolo is going to cut through all the BS in about 10 minutes time. So if you want to see that, drop a like on this video. The goal, of course, throughout the duration of this week, 500 likes per show. Banner Monday to kick things off. We're kicking things off with some debunking here atop the show, and we're gonna try to be as respectful as we can here. Bo and I talked off air, and we're gonna just put some information out there pertaining to what we feel like how the Cardinals evaluate, and then let everybody jump to their own conclusions. With that being said, we're 2 days out. We've talked ad nauseum. Defensive line, maybe a 1 to 2 corners, right? Edge rusher, maybe an offensive tackle if one were to fall. Mm-hmm. We have not talked a lot of offensive guard, specifically at pick 16. We've talked about where it could be taken after the fact, a significant trade down, 47, a slight trade up. Isaiah Adams last year, starter, pick 74. There is momentum, not with the Cardinals, but in this market where folks are connecting the dots with a player that I do not believe the Cardinals will draft at pick 16.
And I don't believe that as well. We're not trying to be Just holding the line over here against a certain player just because it's us first, the rest of the market. We don't feel that way. We want to be a part of the Cardinals community, and we want to inform the fan base as much as possible. And the prospect that's been bandied about being a Cardinal at 16th overall come Thursday, couldn't disagree with it more. I really couldn't, from so many different reasons. Like, checks very few boxes except for one that I think a lot of people are putting a ton of weight on those shoulders for, and that's just position of need for the Arizona Cardinals, because it's been since Johnny was talking about this earlier in the regular season, about midway through the regular season, getting the sense of where the Cardinals wanted to go into the offseason and improve and upgrade. It's at the interior offensive line spot, wanting to get like a war daddy guard. And unfortunately, the last two off seasons, that has, it costs you quite a bunch of cheese as far as trying to pay those guards and years when it comes to Will Fry's 5-year contract. It just doesn't seem like it's in line with what the Cardinals are willing to spend there. They've drafted one in Isaiah Adams, and then they're just going to go run it back, it seems like, with Evan Brown as a veteran kind of bridge at the position, but I don't think he's going to be a bridge to a first-round pick. I just all the evidence that's been presented to me in 2 drafts under Monti Ossenfort doesn't say that they would.
Cardinals have yet to use the top 30 visit on a guard, whether it's Tyler Booker, who is the trendy name here locally, or Donovan Jackson or Gray Zabel. The Cardinals haven't brought one in. That does not mean that they can't take Donovan Jackson at 47. Right? Or they trade up and take him, whatever. Same with Gray Zabel. I'm just very proud of our audience consistently pointing out that let's focus on Tyler Booker for a second. And I don't like this is not a part of the show like we enjoy doing this, but it just find the root cause of where things start, right? So you had Josh Weinfuss on his ESPN mock today, pick Tyler Booker to the Cardinals, whatever. And you've got Daniel Jeremiah saying Gray Zabel, basically a fun choice there. And then you've got people at the flagship radio station here in Arizona saying Tyler Booker. Mm-hmm. And then even in the interview with Mike Garafolo talks about, they could take a guard at some point. Don't you guys just think that that's just a little bit coincidental that everybody 2 days out from the draft is like, the Cardinals, guess what, everybody? Guess what? National media and Twitter, the Cardinals could take a guard. Hey, everybody, we want to take a guard, open for business, even though we don't value the position. We value RAS, which Tyler Booker's RAS score is a flippin' horror show. It's a night. And then number 3, it's like we didn't use the top 30 visit on any of these guys. But yes, definitely taking a guard, maybe Tyler Booker 16th overall. I want everybody to just contextualize it with us for a second. There is no world, in my opinion, where they would take Tyler Booker 16th overall based on the evidence. That doesn't mean Tyler Booker is a bad guy or a bad player or shouldn't be a first-round pick. Let's just use the data from 2 drafts with Ossenfort. RAS, top 30 visit, premium position. He is 0 for 3. Why would they take him at 16?
Positional need. That's it. That's the only thing. That's the only box that he could potentially check. But he wouldn't even check it in a way that I think Jonathan Gannon, Monti Ossenfort, all the powers that be for the Arizona Cardinals would say, hey, this is our war daddy guard right here. This is a guy that's going to come in and he's going to be not just a plug-and-play starter, but he's going to be a guy that has the upside to kind of maximize the value of the 16th overall pick.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you look at the athleticism score, if you're just getting away from RAS, you're getting to the athleticism score that the NFL does as far as the draft scouting. I mean, it's in the 50s. I mean, Tyler Booker he just lacks any sort of athleticism, any sort of upside, and what he is able to make up for it is not like brute strength. Like, he's pretty technically sound at the guard position. That's a good starting point. That's a good probably spot to be in if you want to be Tyler Booker's 2nd round pick, 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
Like, hey, there's this guy. He's almost 6'5". He's a mammoth. He's 300, almost 320 pounds, and he can play the guard spot. He was rock solid at Alabama, and he can establish the run very well. But as far as maximizing the 16th overall pick, And just going off of your guide from the last 2 seasons, doesn't have a good RAS score. In fact, it's brutal. He doesn't play a premium position. It's just nothing adds up to say Monti Ossenfort is submitting the ticket with Tyler Booker's name on it at 16th overall.
Everybody drop a like on this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Jonathan Gaines, RAS darling, 4th rounder. Now that hasn't materialized.
Right.
Tip Ryman, RAS darling. Isaiah Adams, checked all those boxes. Max Melton, Darius Robinson, Marv, Paris, freak show RAS scores. Like, you want to be a non-RAS guy for the Cardinals, you're a late pick or you're an undrafted guy. This is how they're choosing a team build. By the way, you don't hear us come on this show 2 days out and saying they're not going to take Shamar Stewart. Why not? And Shamar Stewart's not my favorite player by any stretch. But why do we have to keep that door ajar, Bull Brock? Oh, I don't know, because he was a top 30 visit, plays a premium position, and his RAS score is one of the greatest in NFL draft history. It's probably a big reason why he was brought in. So it's like, this isn't Johnny and Bo play favorites for 25 minutes. This is, I believe the Cardinals are putting this information out there so that a team like the Dallas Cowboys or the Miami Dolphins take a guard in front of them. Take a guard and cross that bridge. Mike Garafolo tells us in the interview, I don't want to spoil it, but Dallas, those teams are looking at offensive line. What happens if 3 tackles go in the top 10? Well, let's just take the best guard available. Cardinals would love that energy. So maybe a Walter Nolen or somebody else doesn't get selected there. But if they valued a guard, a la Steve Keim with Jonathan Cooper, we would have had that evidence 2 years ago. It's not a position. This is the difference. Keim in his first draft takes a guard top 10, mega bust Jonathan Cooper. Monti Ossenfort takes a blue chip left tackle. Then the next year, generational wideout, D tackle. Even his day 2 picks, guys, pass rusher, corner. I mean, it's not until he screwed around and took Tip Ryman and a guard late in the 3rd round when he had a ton of extra picks. First 2 rounds are premium positions.
You put a post out on your Twitter account, just, with the RAS score for Booker, and it's in the 4s. I was looking at Isaiah Adams. I mean, even though he doesn't blow you away, he had a 7.54 RAS score. So, his relative athletic score is nearly double what Tyler Booker is. That's probably, they would like probably Tyler Booker as a day 2 guy.
Yeah.
Even then, like, I think that you're starting to look at a different, I don't know if he necessarily outplays a Tate Ratledge, or if you're pitting him against Gray Zabel, like, give me Gray Zabel 10 times out of 10 over Tyler Booker.
No doubt. 100%. Again, and people listen, what if they draft Tyler Booker in the 2nd round, or they trade up for him and they get him with their 2nd pick? People are going to come back and say, you guys said we're talking about the 1st pick in the draft. The 1st pick, when it's a blue chip littered defensive line class. And now there are multiple tackles that people love. And there's a corner that we've talked about at nauseum. If that's not picked clean, why would they take a guard? Because we can sit here and say that, well, Evan Brown's on a 1-year deal. They had the money. They could have outbid a team for Will Fry. They could have been in the market for one of these other guards. Here's what I think they will do. I think they're going to take a developmental offensive lineman on day 2, like they did last year.
Yeah. And
then Evan Brown's going to start. And then you've got the kid as a 6th offensive lineman until he's ready to play, a la Isaiah Adams last year. That's how they build. Unless you're Pearce Jr. beating you over the head, or Joe Alt like last year, they can develop this franchise, this regime. Thank God the football gods can develop interior offensive linemen.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're going to hear from Pearce Jr. later in the draft, or later in the show. Sorry, we're trying to get to the draft, but talk to him today out at the facility, and Pearce Jr., you'll hear it from him. He's excited. He's giddy about playing the same position. For the first time since high school, he's going to play the same position in back-to-back seasons. And you got people saying, well, maybe they could draft Kelvin Banks Jr., who's primarily played left tackle, and move Pearce Jr. over to right tackle. It's like, well, nobody's told Pearce that. I don't think this is a team that's just going to like communicate this thing 3/4 of the way through the offseason that a guy's going to make a position change after the draft.
Just say it out loud. Monti Ossenfort has to win this year. Monti Ossenfort needs a player to help him do that. It's like we talked about yesterday's show. Trading back is great. You want to quality over quantity and blah, 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 getting future picks. The time for that, you had a window to do that, right? Build last year, 9 picks in the top 70 or whatever it was, 7 picks in the top 90. I don't remember what it was. It was a ton. This year is about, in a class that's already, watered down. This year is about, let's exit this weekend with 2 to 3 ass kickers that we can pencil in to help us win the NFC West this year. And I love Josh Simmons. And I put him in my mock draft at gophnx.com. That's a luxury pick for the Cardinals. A guard is a luxury pick. Cardinals had good guard play last year. Will Hernandez, Evan Brown, they were great. Didn't help win the NFC West. You know what bit him in the ass? Inconsistent quarterback play, deep passing, and no pass rush for the 3rd consecutive year. And you can remedy that in free agency and now in the draft. The Cardinals' preference, I believe, as we sit here 2 days out, is to take the best available defensive lineman, edge, tackle, defensive tackle. And if not, barring something unforeseen, try like hell to move down and get another pick and then take a D tackle later. Because I think we're going to talk about this with Garafolo. I think the tackles are going to be picked clean. I think that carcass is going to be picked clean. And we've got some real medical concerns on some players that don't play defensive line. So we're going to be staring down the barrel of just pick a defensive lineman. Just get one of these guys that we've been talking about for 3, 4, 5 months.
I mean this in as much respect as possible, and this is going to come off very Johnny-ish, where he says that and then he just flames somebody, right?
I'm so ready for I can't wait for you to say this. Let's go.
I just think Tyler Booker is such an outsider's casual pick for the Cardinals. Like, it doesn't make it the wrong pick. Like, you could put Tyler Booker on the Cardinals tomorrow and say, hey, there's a future starting guard for the Cardinals. But you absolutely just cut down the value of the 16th overall pick. Your ability to improve and bolster a potential position group by saying, hey, we'll take this guy who's the best prospect at a position we view as a need. You start drafting like that, you're going to be doing it far too often in the future because you're not stocking your roster up with talented players and players with higher ceilings than that of Tyler Booker. And then that's like where you really kind of lean on RAS score. When a guy's got a brutal score like that low, like normally I'll kind of like roll my eyes at it, and like you're dealing between like Shamar Stewart, who's 10 out of 10, and guys that are like 7.5, and like what's the actual difference between those guys out there on the playing field? But when you've got like, as far as trying to project somebody, especially at a program that has struggled as far as taking guys who just would beat people with their size in the SEC at Alabama and then hasn't translated to the next level. It would seem so out of character for Monti Ossenfort to pull the trigger on Tyler Booker at 16th overall.
It's like the Wonderlic, right? Like you don't need to ace the Wonderlic. You just can't have like a single digit number. You just can't be like, hey, I got a 2 on my Wonderlic. Well, friends, right? Or it's like, don't blow the 40. Just get in the average area. Oh, you ran a 5.5. That's what this is. Yeah. And I'll give credit where credit's due. I think Tyler Booker in my mock draft, I think I had a Gray Zabel because I'm just throwing stuff out there with non-Cardinal targets. But I'll give, CBK and people in the chat, like Gray Zabel is a better NFL prospect than Tyler Booker. Like if we have a conversation of like, who are the best guard prospects? Like, I think Donovan Jackson and Gray Zabel are better than Tyler Booker. I think they're better fits for the Arizona Cardinals. So if you want to have a guard conversation, we can do that. So not only do, non-scheme
guard
fit,
off?
Yeah, let's do a guard off, right? Let's do a pull off. Pause. All right. So we want to be respectful. This is like 2 days out. There's so much garbage out there. And I'm not discrediting where people are hearing that. I just think it's very, very, very convenient 2 days out. Hey, you know what we would like to take? a position and player with an RAS score and a non-top 30 visit we would historically never touch. This is not a brand new regime. We have 2 drafts of evidence. We have top 30 evidence. They are bringing in top 30 guys. They're going to draft a player in the first round, barring a catastrophe that they added in for a top 30 visit. They've done it. They're 3 for 3, right? Tyler Booker, not on that list. Here's who is on our list. Right around the corner, Mike Garafolo, NFL Network, the most definitive insight to date with regards to the Arizona Cardinals and all things draft that's coming up. But first, we'll keep you cool with our friends at All Pro Shades Concepts. Extend your outdoor living space with a custom fit awning, hundreds of designs, colors to choose from to match any home. Again, motorized, retract with a remote control, all with LED lighting to light up your patio under the awning today. Roll down patio shades, block out the sun, keep it up to 20 degrees cooler. That's going to be a godsend here in the next couple of weeks. Hundreds of colors and fabrics to withstand that Arizona sun. Here's the best part. Yes, they were voted number 1 for Arizona Patio Shades 2024. But I get a lot of people are saying, I've got one. It's not that great, but I don't know what to do. I don't want to scrap it. They can come out and give you a free quote estimate. They might be able to fix and upgrade the one that you already have. It's because they have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google, BBB A+ rating. In the business for 20 years in the Valley. Started with making window shades by hand for friends and family in Phoenix. Now they're one of the largest installers of patio roll-down shades and motorized awnings in the Valley. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Call 623-204-1476 or visit allproshades.com now to schedule your free estimate.
Cardinals' future looking bright. They'll have to throw on some shady rays, of course, to block out that bright-looking future. No doubt about it. But also, you can be looking fly. Look at it with your shady rays using your promo code PHNX to save money on an already reasonably priced premium polarized sunglasses from Shady Rays. Of course, they've been along with us for so long. If you haven't tried them, what are you doing? Over 300,000 people have 5-star rated them online and give them their stamp of approval. Premium polarized shades that's not going to break the bank. The price point well under $100, and with our code PHNX, saving that 35% off, you can save even more. They've got so many different styles for you, maybe your significant other. I can get some for my kids. They've got the child size shades as well. Shades ever go missing, they ever get broken, they've got an insane protection program where they will replace and back it with the lost and broken replacements. If you don't love your shades, exchange them for a new pair, return them worry-free within 30 days. Exclusively for our listeners, use that code PHNX. Get 35% off your polarized premium sunglasses from Shady Rays and try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
We've got Mike Garafolo around the corner, but first I want to remind everybody, tickets are still available in limited quantities. Get them now. Our 2025 NFL Draft Party at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass. There it is. We're going to be there. We're going to be on the clock basically in 2 days' time via our friends at Circle K and Gila River Resorts. Upper Deck Kitchen and Bar. Get your tickets now. It's all you can eat plus 3 drink tickets. You're going to get 20% off if you are a diehard. We want to see you there. I know it says 5 p.m. for the draft party. Come earlier. Bo and I are going to be hanging out 4:15 before going live on air with our pregame show, our pre-draft show at 4:30. Check out the vibes, check out the weather, and, of course, check out the largest sportsbook casino in Arizona. Get those last-minute NFL draft props on deck with our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casino. Again, tag us on Twitter. Grab your tickets now. We'll see you at the draft party. Just days away from the 2025 NFL Draft, NFL Insider, host of the Insiders podcast for the NFL Network. It's Mike Garafolo joining the program. We just chatted off air, Mike. I mean, your schedule the next couple days is insane, I would imagine.
A little bit. We're in Jersey now. We're going to be heading out to California. We'll be in studio on Thursday and Friday. NFL Draft Kickoff is the name of the show. It'll be me, Steve Weish, Brian Baldinger are going to be joining us in studio. We'll be going to Green Bay. We'll have reporters out in the field. So we're gonna have plenty to talk about and discuss. It'll be fun because it's like during the day we're here and these teams are calling around, which, by the way, I mean, let's hit that right off the bat, right? These teams are calling around, fielding calls. It's everybody knows what it's going to cost to go from here to there. Like, that's what these days are all about. So don't read too much into all that stuff. But I do think we're going to see some movement. I think there's a plateau in the minds of evaluators once you get past 4 or 5 in this draft, depending on who you are, maybe even just 3. And I think at that point, they think that there's really no difference between, not no difference, but a little difference between, let's say, 10 and 30. So you could see some teams start to move around, teams be willing to move around because, hey, if we move back, sorry about that, if we move back, we're still going to be in that tier of players that we sort of rate together there.
We got a lot of Cardinal adjacent stuff to talk about, but I do want to touch on, you mentioned the first like 4 to 5 picks. Do you feel like that's pretty well solidified now? Let's talk through them. Oh, you don't? Okay. No, you don't feel like that's solidified.
I could, because I still can't rule out Shedeur Sanders at 3. I can't. Wow. I can't. I've covered the Giants. I've been close to the Giants. Like I thought by now I was going to have a absolutely positively no way they're taking them. I can't get there. I cannot get there. I'm not saying they're going to take them. I'm just saying I can't get there at this point. So that obviously, I mean, let's say he gets taken at 3. Now the Patriots are going to have their option of either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter or Will Campbell. I mean, I don't now all of a sudden, if it's like they go Campbell, because we've heard them connected to him and you know, a lot of it's smoke and mirrors. They take him at 4. Now Carter's at 5. I mean, that's unheard of the last couple of years. If Cleveland indeed does go Hunter at 2. So do I feel like it's solidified? No. And I do think I know, you know, I saw the report about, you know, teams are calling about 2 and 3. I don't believe that the Browns, from my understanding, have ruled out the possibility of jumping out of that 2 spot. If somebody comes up with enough to get them to 2, I don't think they want to go far. I think they still want to be in that cluster, in that top 4 or 5. So it could get interesting. It could get interesting.
Let's talk Mason Graham real quick, because it felt like it was a done deal for him to go at the early portion of the top 10. And now you're hearing things about, well, if the Jags don't take him, conceivably he could fall to the latter half of the top 10. And that is the one target, I think, for the Arizona Cardinals where, listen, if he fell far enough, could they jump up for him? What is his floor and ceiling right now, in your opinion?
Yeah, you know, depending on, I think the Giants pick has a lot of influence there, because if the Giants do take Carter or Hunter, depending on what Cleveland does it too, and then you're not slotting Shedeur at 4 or 5. You're talking about him potentially on the back half of the top 10. If that, although I think he's out, I'm out. See him being the guy for the Saints at number 9. I don't think the Saints are going to take a quarterback at 9, period. So now if he's out of there, that slides everybody up a spot, obviously. But if the Giants go Shedeur, and it falls the way we were talking about, 4 or 5, you know, where does Genty fit in? Because you know he's going to be somewhere in the top 10. Yeah, I think he's possibly sliding on the back end. You know, he's a terrific player. There's no question about that. And I do think some have rated him like, you know, a little bit highly, a little bit higher than some other teams, obviously. Talking about him potentially as an elite guy, whereas other teams say, well, not elite, but really good. So yeah, I think you could see some action with him on the back half of the top 10. And if that happens, teams that thought they had no shot, I'd put the Cardinals there. I'd put the even potentially the Carolina Panthers, because I know they're looking at interior help on the defensive line, and that could be a target for them, whether it's him or Walter Nolen. I think those teams are now going to have to say, okay, all these conversations that we've had the last couple of days to know what it's going to cost to get to here, to here, to here, or to here. And I think the Jets are an interesting spot too, because now Darren Mugi comes in, and he's got the chance. Mugi, right? Mugi.
Yeah.
I said it wrong when he first got hired. I said Mugi because they told me Mugi. I got somebody over there. It's Mugi, and then the person was like, "Yeah, sorry, we were wrong." And now I don't remember which one's right. So it's Mugi. But Mugi coming in with a plan to build this thing up and to gain some capital there, I think that's an interesting entry point potentially for teams.
Let's talk about some medical flags that have come up for, it was like a murderer's row. Our guy, Albert Breer, SI, put out like 5 names with significant medical red flags, and they're all Cardinal adjacent. Will Johnson, Jihad Campbell, right? Let's start with Will Johnson. So Will Johnson, a lot of people quintessential like CB2 in this class. Yeah. He's got a knee where people are throwing around the word degenerative knee. Like, what are you hearing in terms of his, and is it impacting like, hey, I'm not running the 40 time as a result? Yeah.
Albert's correct on all the information. I saw the names that he put out and the injuries and all that stuff. So he's correct on all that stuff. To me, it was like, you know, we'll move him down, but we're not going to, you know, take him off the board completely. I didn't hear any of that, to be honest with you. Degenerative knee condition is, you know, I know we've seen that in the past. I don't think that that's some kind of crippling thing for him. So I think he's been moved down. I do. I think it's going to hurt him a little bit. Whereas we talked about him as a possible, you know, back of the top 10 or right beyond that. I think you could see him go a little bit further. And if that's the case, you'll see why that's going to wind up being the case. The Jihad Campbell one, I know my colleague Ian Rappaport posted a video of him running on the treadmill, which I guess,
it's an upper body. He has multiple upper body injuries.
Yeah, I don't mean to laugh, but it's like, well,
labrum and his shoulder are not in your foot, I think. Last time I checked,
there's a labrum in your hip, which is why it confused me. I said, wait a minute, okay. I thought it was a shoulder. Is it a labrum? Is it a hip labrum? He's already running. No, so it's a shoulder. It's a shoulder. We have some fun this week. Sometimes we don't think it's fun if we're on the receiving end, but sometimes we have some fun behind the scenes. So anyway, yeah, I know he could potentially be on the slide if that's the case. Maybe Carson Schlesinger from UCLA makes that jump over him, which we've already heard a lot of noise about him going in the first round here. So, yeah, those are two guys. Who's the other one that you mentioned?
Well, Derrick Harmon, it wasn't in the Breer article, but there's just significant rumblings on Draft Twitter, which is my favorite thing this time of year.
Yeah.
And he is somebody that feels like checks a lot of boxes. I only didn't do a top 30 visit, but reportedly had a good visit with the Cardinals at the Combine. Was viewed as very safe and healthy, right? He wasn't rehabbing like some of these other guys. Now there's a medical with him. Where do you see him going?
Yeah, and now you could be looking at him back of the first half, or back half of the first round.
Do you know what the medical is?
It's a shoulder, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm checking my notes here. I believe it's a shoulder.
Okay.
But I did ask about that one today, and it was like, I heard that name sort of pop up, and they said, yeah, no, it's been, and again, like moved down a little bit. That's kind of how this thing works. And all of a sudden, if it's like there's two guys and you got the tiebreaker, well, one's clean medical, the other one's not. So we'll go with the clean medical sometimes, depending on team. They weight everything. They weight need, they weight, overall tape evaluation. And then the medical can be something that just hurts a guy when it comes to that. Hey, we've got our picks coming up. We've got these three guys. And they'll go right to the medical guy. Like that's the first one that teams will often go to when they have that conversation, right to the medical staff, right to the trainers. Hey, remind us, talk again. Now we've gone over it in meetings, but hey, let's hear it once again. What do we feel about the knee? We think this is going to be something that's going to be long-term, short-term, blah, 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 whatever. So that's how the medicals factor in on draft night.
Michael Williams felt like destined to be a Cardinal if he was there. They had a top 30 visit, plays a premium position. We know the Cardinals love his work ethic. Now, I mean, if you look at Vegas odds, he's like minus 600 to go before them, right? And people are labeling him one of the fastest risers in this draft. I mean, what's the analysis on your part, like Michael Williams' market, and how did that come to be where people are talking him right alongside his teammate Jalen Walker?
Yeah, which sort of surprised me, right? I had him, a top 15 guy. Now it was being talked about as a possible top 10 guy. And I think that's going to depend potentially on how this falls with Walker, with Carter too. Like I mentioned to you, what if Carter is at 5? Like, how does that change how those things flow after that? I know James Pearce is a guy that, to me, it was Williams, Pearce right alongside each other. I've heard some teams say that they prefer Pearce in that case. Mike Green from Marshall. I think you asked me about that the last time. I don't believe it's going to be a short night for Mike Green. I think it's going to be a long night, if not 2 nights. Like this is some serious off the field stuff that's being discussed right now for him. So, Michael Williams, he didn't really test overly well, but I think people have gone back and looked at the tape and said, you be true to the tape and be true what he's about there. His last visit, I believe on the last day, was to the Falcons, and then worked out for them a little bit the next day as well. They certainly know him well, a Georgia guy. So I definitely put him in play for them, although I think they're one of the teams that prefers Pearce. So we'll see.
James Pearce Jr., you mentioned, was a draft darling coming into the college football season. A lot of people thought he could be the top overall pick, and he was productive. He had a dominant combine. And yet I'm seeing like Vegas over under, Mike, is 31.5 for him to fall, basically fringe first round pick. What has happened to James Pearce Jr. stock where it's like, is the off the field concern with him that significant?
For some teams, but I don't think it is for other. I mean, I don't give gambling advice. I'm not allowed to. I don't do it. I will just stop, period.
Yes.
Now you ask me where James Pearce Jr. is expected to go in my mind. I think somewhere in the first half of the first round, if not slightly shortly thereafter. So that's the only question I'm answering from you about where
No worries. So
Junior to go.
you
So
do,
I don't think it's I know
he's being valued by teams though.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I know you're talking about the off-field stuff. For some guys it seems to be a major issue, and I don't get the sense that it's too significant for him, and which means that his visits and his meetings went well, right? Because that's where you want to get the answers. What happened? What's going on here? Whatever the case may be with any of these guys, look at me face to face, and then you get a feel for the guy at that point.
Is Walter Nolen maybe the biggest benefactor with what's going on with Harmon right now? I mean, it feels like a foregone conclusion he's going to be defensive tackle number 2 unless something happens with Kenneth Grant. How do you analyze that position unit?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Panthers. I think I mentioned it a short while ago as a team that is looking at the interior of the defensive line. So I think that could be a spot for him that I would tie him to. I just feel like he's just. I know you're talking about the benefactor of him with Harmon, but I just feel like he's in the minds of evaluators just good enough to be that guy and to be that disruptor, to be taken that high. So I'm looking at him right around what's Carolina 11. Am I remembering?
They're in the top 10, but that was going to be
9.
my next. Yeah, Saints are 9. That was going to be my next question. I'm going to pull up if I could. This is the draft order here on PHNX Cardinals.
Carolina. Okay.
So like we're referring to it as kind of like Murderer's Row.
Yep.
Starting with the Jets through probably Atlanta for the Arizona Cardinals to have to sweat this out.
Mm-hmm.
If you could, let's do like a synopsis of where do you think like San Francisco, Dallas, Miami, these teams are kind of leaning toward right now. If you could put a position on each one.
Yeah. Chicago. I mean, Chicago, we've heard them connected to Genti, and they would have to get up from number 10 to do that. Carolina, I'm going defense. Jets, I'm going offensive line. Dallas, I believe. I know I'm not the first to say this, but Dallas could be offensive line as well. Miami's kind of a wild card. They've got a need at safety, defensive back. Could they start especially with the Jalen Ramsey situation? Could they start the corner or safety move right there at number 13? Indianapolis, I know people have said tight end. That just feels a little rich. I mean, depending on what happens with Tyler Warren, if he's there at some point. I know the Saints have done a ton of homework on tight ends as well. So I feel like that could be a situation for them. And listen, going back to Arizona, by the way, which I know is the reason why we're here. I know we've said defensive line or edge. I wouldn't rule out offensive line for them either. And certainly getting some help at the guard position as well. I know that's been something that they've evaluated thoroughly, and maybe it's not there in the first round. Maybe it's thereafter. But depending on how it falls in front of them, if they stay put and don't move, I would certainly have that as a consideration for them too.
Let's start. Yeah, absolutely. I think it just depends on the value, right? If they're able to trade down. I know Ossenfort's traded down multiple times, or there were some teams kind of leaked by Adam Schefter that, hey, these are teams that would like to trade down. Isn't that kind of true of everybody, though, in some way, shape, or form? It's like there could be movement significant. Like the Cardinals will trade down if they get the right offer.
Yeah, and depending on what happens in front of them. I mean, there's also, they could jump up at that point. That's why, teams are calling teams. I'll have a team. Oh, they called to see about us, where our spot. Well, you're behind them. Well, yeah, but I heard they're also calling ahead of them. Yeah, okay, that's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to test the waters on. So yeah, I know it's not sexy right now, but it depends on how everything falls for them. I think they're a candidate to go either way, to be honest with you.
Let's talk about Shedeur Sanders, where the closer we get, it feels like his night could be long on Thursday as well. Outside of being saved by the Giants at 3, which you've already outlined, if he doesn't go to the Giants at 3, feels like the Saints maybe are going to go in a different direction, even with the Derek Carr news. Like, is it conceivable Shedeur Sanders falls out of the first round?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
that would stun me, just because at that point, I mean, what are we talking, in the 20s? I understand that his pro day wasn't great, and you start to say, well, he's got a loose ball, and can he drive it through the cold and the wind? And there are some teams that are going to say no. There are some teams that are going to, and there are teams that say, we play in a dome. We got another dome team in our division, whatever it is. Don't care. Like, going to have to go out and win a playoff game on the road in Green Bay, Philly, New York, whatever. We're not comfortable with that. I think the Giants are comfortable. And I think they're comfortable enough that if that scenario you're talking about plays out, they're coming back into the first round to take them. And I don't think that they'll be alone. I think that there's a few teams. And look, now we're also getting to the point of who's the Atlanta Falcons this year? Who's the team that we say, well, they're not going to need a quarterback, but now he's sliding toward them. And maybe it's a team like, I mean, the Raiders are at 6, so it's not a great example, but a team like the Raiders where you're like, oh, they traded for a quarterback. Yeah, but now you can get this guy in and be the long-term solution as well, even if it's, the Seattle Seahawks, right? Seattle brought in Sam Darnold, but is he your long-term guy? Probably not. You guys, so I just, there's enough of those teams that are out there that he'll get snatched up at some point there, or these teams are going to start to come in out of the first round completely. I'd be absolutely floored. Save this clip in case I'm being made to look like a moron.
No, breaking the Trey McBride news a month ago on this show. You're anything but, my friend. Let's circle back to you share that information about James Pearce, which I love. I think at 16, that's been something of a draft darling on this show. Are there any players like that, not necessarily the same position, that you're hearing could go higher than the consensus out there in mock draft world?
Who was the one that just let's see. Oh gosh, go through my text. Today's been
Kelvin Banks Jr. feels like a lock top 12, 13 pick. What do you think about that?
Yeah, hold on a second. Somebody earlier, and I was like, what? And it went past me, and I was just like, I got to come back and get on that. Who was the person that they said here? Wasn't that guy? This is great. Oh, I love this stuff. Because then it happens, and it's like, well, I told you. Yeah, but you know what? You told me a bunch of things the last couple of years, and they never panned out.
Offense, defense.
Here it is. Oh, Josh Connerly from Oregon. The surprise possible.
Sure.
Would he be a surprise first round pick? I guess he.
Oh, no. I mean, like, and tackles always go high.
Yeah.
I saw, Banks being valued as like a top 10 pick, maybe over Membu, which I think is nuts, but
I don't think that happens.
Okay.
Membu, I don't. And I know that there's a medical thing with Membu apparently too as well.
Oh, geez.
But not again, like some teams are like, well, we kind of marked it, and we didn't even hear about that, whatever it was. But no, Josh Connerly was the one that came by today. I was like, really? Like, wow, like talking about him as possibly like middle to early first round pick, which actually just floored me. So keep an eye on him, I guess.
Right. Anything else as it relates to, these quarterbacks, you've got it leaking that the Giants are in on Jackson Dart. That feels like posturing, like 2 days out, and Tyler Shuck maybe to New Orleans. How many quarterbacks do you think find their way into round one?
Depending on how, like the scenario of like Shedeur falling, and I know that this has been talked about. I'm going to say 3. I wouldn't be shocked if it's only 2. Yeah, I'm going to say 3. Wouldn't be shocked if it's only 2. I'll leave you with that one right there. But I just feel like because obviously if it goes Cam and then Shedeur at 3, right? Like you're going to get one in the last 29 picks. You're going to. But I think if you get that Shedeur slide, then the Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck, possibly one. And by the way, if you're asking me which, I would say Shuck. I would say Shuck before. And we had him on the Insiders. We talked to him about his long and winding college career. And he said, that's a good thing, right? Like I've seen everything that you could throw at a quarterback that you're going to see in the NFL. It's like, that's a really good answer there by Tyler Shuck. So we'll see.
You quickly, we'll get you out of here.
Yeah.
Chicago Bears, you mentioned offense. You think early on, is that like second tier running back? Is that like a tight end to compete with Cole Kmet? Like, what do you think there?
Yeah, running back feels early, right? Like just to go, and I know we're talking Hampton top 20-ish, right? I don't believe, I know there's been a lot of talk, and Sean Payton flat out said running back is a consideration, which to me feels like the smokiest of all smoke right there. Like, why would he say that? Although maybe he thinks that people are going to think that, so he's okie doking them in that regard. I just saw that the other day. I was like, well, clearly they're not taking a running back, and we're going to take one later on. But that's an interesting draft at the running back position, because I think these guys are going to be good. I think they're going to produce. I think they're all going to be solid. Like you could say, oh, the top 5 that went, Genty, Hampton, Judkins, who we had on the Insiders today. So watch that on NFL Network. That's running later. Henderson, and let's go Cam Skattebo for you Arizona folks out there, which I will say possible late 2, but I'll go early 3. I'll go early to mid 3.
So real quick, you can't tease that and we can't dive into it here. So last time we talked Skattebo, we gave you a break.
Yeah.
We were thinking like early day 3. You're thinking now
I've moved them up.
Cam Skattebo could be a fringe second round pick.
I'm like a 10% chance, but a 90% chance. I think his name is called on Friday. He does not have to wait till Saturday. That is my prediction on Cam Skattebo. And I had no idea who. Matter of fact, and I would never, when we're talking, I never like quote it, but I talked to his agent, right? And he's like, I have no idea, dude. I have no idea. And it's going to be somebody's going to draft him. And probably somebody, I was like, if I had made a list of 32 teams, like that would have been on the bottom 16 or something like that. So, especially when you get into the late 3rd round where anything's a possibility and teams are covering. So I'm going to go with Skattebo, day 2, gone by the time the 3rd round is up. That's my prediction.
Wow. Unbelievable stuff. Mike Garafolo, NFL Insiders. Check out the podcast airing later today. And of course, check him out on the NFL Draft pre-show. He's got to fly from Jersey all the way to LA. Show my man some love.
Boy, will my arms be tired.
You've crushed it this entire draft season. We appreciate you, my guy. Thanks so much.
You got it. Looking forward to talking to you guys. Plenty moving forward. We'll break it down after the draft is finally over and we finally have our answers.
Hey, the best. Mike Garafolo. There's Bo Brack. We're debriefing. Mike G plus Bo is at Tempe Cards facility. So much to go, plus your super chats. It's PHNX Cardinals. But first, you mentioned it. Mike G said it. He doesn't get into the draft odds. He doesn't get in. He's a professional. We're a couple of degenerates here. And we're going to use the Chef's Kiss, the choice betting app with our friends at Bet365. Speaking of draft odds, get all the latest, up to date bets, props, and locks. Bet365 has over 90 million users worldwide, 780,000 events each year, NBA, NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball, and more. Of course, right now you can check out the NBA Tip-Off Tuesday. If you've never done it, all you got to do, place qualifying parlay bets totaling $20 or more on Tuesday NBA games. Get up to $25 in bonus bets. Of course, terms and conditions apply. Download the Bet365 app. Use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary with Bet365. You got to be 21 years and older, physically located here in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov, Bo, for more info.
Johnny, we've officially moved the ball down the field. We're an unstoppable offense. We're in the red zone, and it's time to put that thing in for pay dirt. It's the draft party, Gila River Resorts and Casinos at Wild Horse Pass. 48 hours from right now. 48 hours from right now, 5 o'clock on Thursday. Do not miss out on this. It's going to be elite entertainment. Do not miss out. If you're not even in the draft party, you can get out, play some table games. You can go hit some video poker. You can do whatever your little heart desires. You can throw some money down at the sports book, or you can just go and cheer on your favorite Cardinals podcast. PHNX Cardinals here with our watch party, April 24th. Johnny, myself, Noah, Wild Horse Pass, the Upper Deck Bar and Grill, unforgettable NFL draft party. We're going to be there for every pick of the first round. You get entrance to the Upper Deck Bar and Grill, and of course our live show. Get the ticket now. It's got a drink tickets involved for people over 21 years old, and all you can eat buffet. Tough to beat that. Raffle tickets for great giveaways. You get 20% off if you're a diehard. I've seen a lot of you sign up. Take advantage of that now and save big on this draft party coming up Thursday at Gila River Resorts and Casinos at Wild Horse Pass. You do you and achieve legendary status. Go to playathila.com for more details.
Bummer that Bo wasn't available to jump on with our guy Mike G, but I do want to ask you, because we haven't talked about a ton of that, your takeaways from 22 minutes from Top Insider in the game ahead of the NFL draft.
Look, the James Pearce Jr. thing, it seems kind of silly. Is we were trying to kind of figure out, vet this thing as the Cardinals brought him in on a top 30 visit. Could the interest be real? Everybody's just because they read one story that he had character issues, wanted to count him out, where, you know, the rest of the league is willing to take a chance on him, so much so where he's not expected, according to Garafolo, fall down the draft boards and tumble nearly out of the first round. You've got that, and then Mike Green, like his night's going to be a long one Thursday. They could potentially last into Friday. And then the last little nugget about Cam Skattebo making his way from what we thought was a firm day 3 selection back into day 2, and could be, fifth running back off the board by round 3 at the very latest.
This is a shocker of the conversation. And it's tough. It's tough for me because I want to gloat at the haters because I love Cam Skattebo, but also if Cam Skattebo's a day 2 pick, it's going to be tough for the Cardinals to walk away with him. That's just how I feel. Cardinals, it's that what I would give for having a couple of those.
This is you apologizing to me.
No, I'm not apologizing.
This is your apology.
I'm not saying I wouldn't take him in the 3rd. I'm saying I don't think the Cardinals will. I think I'd love to play in the sandbox of, oh man, he's available at the top of the 4th. The intrigue, trade up, let's go get him. When Garafolo says there's a small chance, but a chance he could be a 2nd round pick. There's no way he's fallen to the 3rd round. I think what has happened is
the 4th round.
What's happened is Cam Skattebo is a sure thing in a lot of people's eyes of what he is and isn't. I think there are a lot of question marks with this class. I think you've got questions from a medical standpoint off the field. I think Cam Skattebo, as crazy as it sounds, is a very safe pick for teams. And I think that's what you're seeing now, his maturation to be in a top 100 selection. How many guys even did Mike just mention? And I know it's not apples to oranges. Membu's got a medical thing. There are concerns left and right. So I think you take a kid out of Arizona State that was an All-American, give your franchise a little bit of juice and a little bit of marketing cachet, and you got to use the top 100 pick. I would love for the Cardinals to do it, but I feel like if Garafolo is locked in, which I believe he is, Skattebo sounds like he's going to be like top half of the 3rd round. Like Cardinals, they're not going to play in that sandbox, which is unfortunate.
No, I mean, they're going to identify they've already identified it, but they're going to address their biggest needs. And running back is one of the few needs that they have on their team. One of the strongest rooms with James Conner and Trey Benson, who they took 66th overall just last draft. I don't want to be a wet blanket as far as those who want to see the man over my shoulder. Yeah, that's right. There's Scat. He's glaring at me. He's saying, how dare you besmirch me and my great name after all I've done for this community? I'm not trying to. I just think that, if it were ever to happen to the Cardinals, it would have to be day 3. And according to Garafolo saying 90% chance that he's selected in the 3rd round. I think there's something to be. I'll give you credit there. I think that he does take out a lot of the homework that teams have to do, because he just does seem like, and we talked to him at the Combine in Indy, and of course our guys over at PHNX Sundevils have had several conversations with him. He's a top-notch guy, and he lives, breathes this thing, and he wants to play at the next level, is willing to do whatever that'll get him there. And you've seen him be very productive against the top talent that college football has to offer. So yeah, it takes a lot of the question marks out of it for teams. And if that's worthy of a 3rd round pick, which I think it should be, Cam Skattebo going to be hearing his name called on day 2 of the draft, which is fantastic.
Derrick Harmon, shoulder, figure he's out of pocket, out of play for the Cardinals at 16. Will Johnson, that does not sound good. And he's moved down. I think Derrick Harmon and Will Johnson are probably looking at like back half of the 1st round, maybe picks 20 through 32. And if the Cardinals trade down, maybe they play in that space. Man, the stuff about Jahad Campbell made me laugh, because it's like, let's pub him up. He's running on a treadmill. You retweeted it, but it's like his injuries are upper body. Like, so I hope he can run. I just feel like, Mykel Williams, Walter Nolen, those are the names that we're locked in on right now. Kenneth Grant, I didn't get a chance to ask him about his floor and ceiling, but we know the major players. And I know Mike brought up offensive line. Josh Connerly Jr., the Cardinals aren't taking him 16th overall. Like, the Cardinals didn't bring him in. The Cardinals, he's I think a left tackle. That would seem like a little bit of an overdraft. I think you're seeing these teams in the top 15 that are just like, these tackles, let's just plug them in. They're safe. Cardinals don't need a left tackle. You've talked about that. You've made that point so well, Bo, where it's just like, what are we doing? You got Pearce out there saying, I'm a left tackle. He feels comfortable in his role. Like, you're going to take a left tackle, move him over to right, take the fourth best guy. I just don't see it.
The Chargers did it with Joe Alt, but Joe Alt was a special case. He was the top tackle.
Not even close.
This is you're talking about down the depth chart as far as the tackle prospects, and you'd be asking guys that's not the premier player at his position to most likely switch spots. And there's a ambidextrousness to this where you have to play on the different side of the line. It's in, Pearce Jr.'s talked about that, and there's challenges to it, and a credit to a guy like Kelvin Beachum, who's able to do it and play that swing, so smoothly. But to ask somebody who's primarily played that position at the collegiate level and then make the jump too, it's asking a lot. And I don't think the Cardinals want to do that from their first round picks. Like, they might ask like players later in the draft to do so, but they want impact makers here. That's the overwhelming thing. Like, when we start to look at this, like, they want somebody to come in and make an immediate impact for them.
I couldn't agree more. You saw some impact makers today over in Tempe. We got a ton of super chats. We appreciate you all. We're going to get to them, but be remiss, Bo, if we didn't plug some Cardinal Redbirds in the house chatting it up before OTA's getting started. Yeah,
we absolutely could do that. Do we need to get one more break out of the way, and then we'll absolutely hear from?
You're so right. Let's do that.
Man, this is a very rare occurrence on this show where Johnny just shuts down and just says, "You know what, Bo? You know what you're talking about," because he knows I'm also going to tell you some other accurate information, like Pure Edibles. It's the best gummies you can find in the great state of Arizona, and they're not tough to find. They're in over 130 dispensaries in our great state. Pure Gummies, not covered in sugar like their competitors. No, they're a full-fledged candy company, and they specialize in those gummies. They've got the kicks. They're just like Starburst. They've got the chews that are like caramels, and of course, they've got the hard candies. And all their effects are outlined right there on each Pure Edibles 10, so you know what effects to expect from Pure Edibles. Of course, they're gummies. They offer sleep support as well as candies with uplifting effects derived from unique cannabinoids such as CBN, CBG, CBD with marijuana from THC. Created up the road in Flagstaff, but now in the big leagues down here in Phoenix. Pure designed to be ripped, bit in half, making them easily shareable to dial in that exact dose that you're looking for. Go find yourself some Pure Edible products at one of the 130 dispensaries in Arizona. Pure Edibles.
Big thanks to our friends at Pure Edibles. Big thanks to our friends at Empire today. I purchased a new home last year, immediately went to the experts that know floor installation. They can't be beat on quality, speed, and service. Right now, their philosophy is to help me, you, whomever, find what you need, not to overwhelm you with choices and prices. They're here to custom fit a flooring that meets your family's needs. They've got a virtual floor designer. It's fantastic. All you got to do is schedule your in-home free estimate today. And by the way, all listeners can receive $350 off when they use the bonus code PHNX. Again, restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for more details. Again, service on warranties. If an issue does arise, call them. This is a commitment. This is not a one-off. They're going to take care of you. Empire Today. Again, empiretoday.com/PHNX. PHNX is the bonus code. $350 off new flooring. We are jumping into OT. It's overtime. Beep, beep, here on PHNX Cardinals, 2 days out from the NFL draft. And now I want to turn it over to my co-host who had a chance to chat it up with three of the Cardinals' best, Pearce Johnson, Garrett Williams, and Michael Wilson, who, by the way, were all in the same draft class just 2 years ago.
They were. It was, not too long ago as these guys enter season 3, which is wild to think about in year 3 under Jonathan Gannon, Monti Ossenfort. These are kind of the guys that were that ushered in the new era of Cardinals football. And we heard from Michael Wilson today. Michael Wilson, he gave us some insight as far as who was in the gym and who was looking swole coming back from off-season break.
Marvin looked like he got a little bigger. Not bigger, but like muscle bigger. But I mean, guys look chiseled up, and everyone looks good.
It's good that he clarified that Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't rolling in with like a beer gut, and he just was kind of kicking back all off season long after his nearly 900-yard receiving performance and 8 touchdowns. So Marv looking swole. He bulked up, Johnny. Love to hear that. Especially, you know, I asked Pearce what gives him the confidence that you know, Marv is going to break out in year 2, and he was talking about that. We don't have that clip, but he says, I can't wait for the world to see what I've already known, that Marvin Harrison Jr. is one of the best receivers in the league. Well, you got people just putting him in some insane tiers that I've seen lately as far as the company he's keeping. He's not going to keep that company much longer. He's going to be up there with the top receivers in the league. But we did talk to Pearce Johnson Jr. And Pearce Johnson Jr., as I mentioned, excited about the continuity that he's going to receive by preparing to play the left tackle spot going forward for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, to be the same position 2 years in a row, I've not done that since high school. So I'm excited for that. I think, you know, I'm trying to show the world that it's time for me to make the jump to be the best version of myself. And I believe the best version of myself is one of the best tackles in the game, but now it's time to show it. So to be back in a building, to work not only on myself individually, but as a leader on a team, that's something I'm also trying to work forward to, not just trying to show it through my actions, but through trying to talk to rally the team and stuff like that is part of my next step as well. But I'm definitely excited to be on the same side, you know, 2 years.
He's not going to just say that, and the team's just like, okay, cool. Will you go to the right tackle spot again?
Literally what I was about to say. Yeah, let's just draft. Let's get Kelvin Banks Jr. You've never played in the league. You go left tackle. Pearce, you go back to the right side.
He did mention that he wouldn't mind seeing some Ohio State offensive linemen join him in that room. That could be, you know, Donovan Jackson. It could be Josh Simmons, who's got experience at San Diego State playing right tackle.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Simmons is a right tackle for the Cardinals, and I still think there's a decent chance. I don't think the Cardinals are going to exit this draft without an Ohio State Buckeye. It would be very ironic if they did the year they won the Natty and the Cardinals don't take one. But Pearce, to me, he's top 3 player on this franchise, cornerstone pick. He's everything that the franchise never did under Steve Keim, and he's just going to get better and better. So it doesn't even look like an offensive tackle. He's lean. He looks like one of these edge rushers in this class. So these 3 players, and we're going to get to Garrett Williams here in a second, are just the model for what the Cardinals want to be in the draft. Like last year had all the sizzle, right? But those guys got to carry the weight. This rookie class from 2 years ago carried the Cardinals to where they were last year. Garrett Williams should have been a Pro Bowler. Pearce was almost a Pro Bowler. Michael Wilson, super consistent, deserves more targets. Like that 2023, that draft class, the story has been written there. Very good, right? Now it's 2024 and 2025. We got to see some ascension here. Cardinals need more from their rookie class this year than they got last year, for sure.
Yeah, it was a tone setter for sure in 2023. And be able to continue that. You talk about last year's rookie class, and you know there was a lot of, I think, waiting for some guys that they used some that premium draft capital to kind of come in and make an impact, and you had to kind of sit on your hands a little bit waiting for that. Garrett Williams, though, he's confident that he expects a big jump from rookies last year going into year 2, including Max Melton.
Yeah, I'm honestly, they talk about the jump, and I get it because you see your first year, you kind of get it. But everything from making that leap from year 1 to year 2, or really from any year, it's all about just looking at what you did the year before and just what are you going to do to improve it, or what are you going to fix. And I think it all just comes down to just with anybody, you just got to be focused on what you're trying to improve on. And I feel like those 2 guys and all the guys in the secondary, really all the rookie guys, like they all understand that, and they're all really self-aware. So I have no doubts that they're going to make big leaps this upcoming year.
It's about to be a very rich man in that video if he plays like he did last year. Yeah, I mean, get that man some help in the form of defensive linemen.
Right.
What can Garrett Williams do without the worst pass rush in the league? Hey, Garrett, turns out we're not the worst anymore. What do you think about that? Oh, I think I'm going to be paid as the top slot corner in the NFL.
Yeah, we're close to really kind of bolstering this thing, but maybe we'll get a guard. What do you think? Do you know what I've played behind for the last 2 years? No.
Basically, the equivalent of guards playing defensive line, respectfully. So, hey, Zabin, you want to play both ways? Hey, guys. I blocked out even the guys that played last year on the defensive line. Good stuff. Yeah, good stuff from that group. You want to jump into these super chats, Bo?
Yeah,
Brock?
let's do it.
All right, kicking us off. It's Grayson, $4.99. How about this? Great question. What would it take to trade up to number 3 if Carter is still there? Well, I mean, Garafolo, here's what we know about this top 5. Travis Hunter's going high. Ashton Genty, and I didn't have a chance to mention this, Adam Schefter went on local radio today and said that Jacksonville's not taking Mason Graham at 5.
Wow.
What? So is Ashton Genty going 5th to the Jags? I think if Abdul Carter, if the Cardinals wanted, you're giving up your 1 next year minimum. I think the more interesting question, Grayson, not to take over your super chat, is if Mason Graham falls to like 7 and you trade with the Jets to jump the Panthers and grab Mason Graham. To me, that would be the play. I think Carter still ends up going relatively high.
It's a great question from our guy Grayson. To get from 16 to 3, that you're talking about future first for that. And that's a bit rich for me. Trenton Smith, $9.99. Can you see if the Cardinals trading back from 16 and picking up a guard and getting a 2nd or 3rd round pick and using that pick to get back in the 1st round to get James Pearce Jr.?
I don't think their first pick is going to be a guard. Zabel, they didn't work him out. Tyler Booker, they didn't work him out. I mean, they run through all these scenarios. Trade up, trade down. That's what they spent the last 6 weeks doing. Scenarios, right? And finalizing their big board. Why, if they did, and we don't know 6 of their top 30 visits, to be fair, but why would they not do a top 30 visit with one of these guys? It's because they don't envision like those guys being the pick. Because they look at this defensive line class, Trenton, and they're like, well, these guys are better prospects. They have a higher ceiling than guard Joe Blow from 1AA. And I like Gray Zabel fine. Give me a guy who had monster numbers in the SEC rushing the edge.
Scott, $1.99. Does Kyler still have you guys blocked?
I would assume so. But, we don't even know if that's him running his social.
We had a great conversation with Kyler Murray.
I think,
25 minutes. You think? I do think it was just an error.
I think that he's blocking out all the noise. How about that? He's blocking out the noise. I don't think he's on social media very much.
I think he might have blocked Johnny for a reason, but for me, it was probably just an accident.
He did tell me after our interview, he's like, heard you talk about those quarterbacks, Johnny. Bringing in a quarterback. That ain't me, K1. Charlie Sinclair, $9.99. Bo loved when he said that. I would feel like if you're interested in a prospect, I wouldn't want to bring him in for a top 30. Don't want to show my hand. Anyway, I think you guys go Kenneth Grant at 16. I would love Kenneth Grant at any point. I had him going, Charlie, in my mock at gophnx.com, which you can read right now for free. I mean, if they had not set a precedent, Charlie, like that's what they do, top 30 visits for all their guys.
Yeah.
If they
I'll tell you, Charlie, different organizations, they utilize top 30 visits differently, obviously, right? But the Arizona Cardinals use it as an information gathering tool. And I think they would they value the information that they could receive, getting to know these prospects better. And they put them through kind of the ringer a little bit in their own way to see how they react to different scenarios and stuff like that, to where they can make a determination on it. It's been pretty successful. When you look at just for an example, when we show clips from guys going into their 3rd year, and Michael Wilson and Garrett Williams and Pearce Jr., and they're all equally good players, character guys, as they are people. So they seem to kind of crack the code, and they utilize top 30 as one of those tools to find out more about the player.
Benjamin Albright just tweeted out he expects, quote, lots of offensive line early come Thursday night. Finally got around to looking at some people's mocks, and I would say offensive line are probably going to go earlier than what the consensus thinks. So that tracks with Garafolo. I think there's a chance. I think there's a decent chance Membo, Campbell, Banks, and now Connolly Jr. go above the Arizona Cardinals. I think 4 of the first 16 picks are offensive tackles. And then, again, wouldn't it track? Cardinals are like, we love guards. We love it. We love it, baby. And people are like, better take a guard. Diego Perez, $2. Scats over Bo's left shoulder like the angel he is.
There he is. There he is, watching over me. Scat.
That's
Appreciate
second round pick Cam Skattebo to you, Bo Brock.
Chad McBain.
Wouldn't that be nuts? If we were
Isn't that crazy that Garafolo gives Johnny a 10% chance? He's like, there he is. Second round, man. 10% chance. 90% chance third round. Chad McBain, $10. What do we got, Chad? Monti has filled this roster out nicely. He should take best player available at 16. Like Kyler told you, you need good football players regardless of position. BPA at 16, then trade back up and take BPA again.
BPA is in this class defensive line.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not Tyler Booker.
It's not a off-ball linebacker who can't operate his upper body right now. It's not Will Johnson, if without the medicals, is probably BPA.
Yeah. Nathaniel Thomas, is that who this is? Yeah. Let's get up. Nathaniel. BJ Ojulari healthy to start the offseason. If not, will he be there to start training camp? It's a great question. He went down almost a year after training camp began. It's about a 12-month process with the ACL. I bet he's probably going to be somebody I think he could avoid PUP.
I'm going to make a prediction right now, Nathaniel. If they don't get an edge rusher this weekend, of note, the first 2 rounds, we're going to hear a lot of BJ Ojulari. We feel good about BJ Ojulari. And it's not like they don't, but there's lip service that comes with that. If they don't get Landon Jackson or JT in the second round or James Pearce Jr. or whomever, we're going to hear a lot about we feel confident in Ojulari. And they should, but as we've outlined before, it would be a mistake for them to go into the season saying, like, he's our guy. He's been hurt 2 seasons in a row. He is a flyer guy. Whatever he gives you is great. Josh Sweat and TBD at the other edge rusher. But he and our boy Baron Browning, that's a hell of a backup. Those 2 players would have easily been the best pass rushers on the Cardinals last year. Taco Corp, our newest diehard, he's going to be there on Thursday night, $199. What's going on, Bo, with John Gaines? His RAS score was elite.
Yeah, I mean, he's somebody that he suffered a torn ACL, right, back in the preseason finale of his rookie season. And I think he's a guy that, you can expect to probably be in even better shape this, training camp. But he had a couple opportunities last season where he could maybe even get a spot start here and there, and they just decided to go in a different direction. So I think they're going to want to see something from Gaines come OTA's training camp and kind of make himself, known and that he's somebody that's more looked at other than just being a backup on this team.
Brian, friend of the program, $5. K1 Block Bow on the advice of Billy Price. Wow, I heard they're close.
Oh, yeah.
Laugh out loud. Can I get an autograph for my Cardinals room Thursday? From us? How about a photo? A couple buddies hanging out.
I think if you want to put us up in your room, you probably just want a photo. You don't want people ask for our autograph like here and there, and I just don't. You don't want our autograph. It's worth nothing.
Here's what you want to do. You want to hang out on Thursday and talk ball, because that's the highlight of our year is this draft party. But Brian, can't wait to see you, my guy. How about Frobrock 199? Just give me Kenneth Grant at 16 and let's get it. There are players like Kenneth Grant and James Pearce Jr. and Walter Nolen that Cardinal fans are just like, just do that. Just do that. You can't screw this up. Michael Williams before he shot up draft boards. There's like a group of like 4 guys that the Cardinal fans would be content with. But Ossenfort, he's pushed the right buttons the first 2 years in the first round, but he goes off the beaten path a little bit later on. This is just so unpredictable. right now. And we're just trying to connect the dots. But I love Kenneth Grant, Fro. He would be easily one of my top preferred players, and he'll be in our top 5 tomorrow.
Let's wrap it up with Jackson. Barring any right before the buzzer, little super chats here. I was joking about Desmond Watson, guys. Relax. I also wish I could make it on Thursday, but I'm working up in Flag. I need a big group live from everybody at the party. I like that idea. So when Johnny drops his signature live, you want to try to get like a collective, like the whole room, like 100 people deep live.
Sounds great.
Wow,
Jackson, great idea.
Chills thinking about it.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what gives me chills. Bo and I have officially placed our order for our tire on Thursday. My wife saw it in the Amazon cart and immediately asked multiple questions. Questioned my manhood in the process. A lot of things got questioned. But we're going to be ready to rock and roll. Thank you so much for that super chat. And thank you all for sticking with us today. Reminder, get your draft tickets now. Now is the time. Pull the trigger. We will see you on Thursday night. I promise we will make it worth your while. The best draft party in the Valley and beyond. And regardless, if you can't make it to the draft party, if you're not in proximity, watch us live throughout the duration of rounds 1 through 7 on YouTube. Smash that like button. Big thanks to our guy, Mike Garafolo. Tomorrow, the pre-show, the final show before the big dance on Thursday. Myself, Bo, we go through our preferred picks, our final prediction, plus Fran Duffy with the very latest. For Bo, I'm Johnny. We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.